Welcome to Mindset, Mood and Movement, a systemic approach to human behavior, performance and well-being. How to get mental clarity? Well, it's so important, isn't it? If we cannot focus, if we cannot clear our mind from distractions, the mind is being poured all over the place. Okay, so there are certain points I'm going to cover in this episode around what we can do to get really good mental clarity. First one is we talk about how breath affects our state and our brain and all those interactions. Secondly, I'm going to talk about our actual state, our emotional state and mental state, and how that is under influence, so we can do something around that. And thirdly, I'm going to be talking around how to create space, so time and space in your data. Really get better focus and to get more mental clarity. Okay, so you don't need me to tell you, but hey, today's world with these things and distractions, everyone wants a piece of our mind and we sell it very cheaply. It's so easy to get distracted. Now, the reasons we get distracted are manifold, and that's probably another episode, okay? But one of the big ones is that it's easy to get distracted. That's the first thing to say. So we need to bracket our time, which is one of the key points we're going to come to. But first of all, let me explain something around breathing. Now, you may or may not know, but how we breathe affects many things. It affects our brain waves, curiously, and our emotional state and our nervous system. So, if we got a regular breathing pattern, let's say it's around a count of 4 in, around a count of 4 out, it's nice and rhythmic, harmonious, and there's been some good studies done around breath patterns and brainwave patterns. And it's quite interesting. I saw some pictures where there's chaotic images going on. Now, that's all research. I know for a fact that myself and people I work with, if we can control our breathing, we're very present. It's an anchor point to focus on something, and it can help the mind instead of going off into all the myriad of things one can do to stay focused. So the first tool, I suppose you could say, in your armory is learn some breath work. Now, you don't need to be a specialist. My simple guide is this: breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. And aim to breathe using your diaphragm. So you'll feel your belly expand and release as you breathe. Aim for rhythmic breathing. And by goodness, I've seen people in chaotic states in places I've been at, certain offices, and their breathing is erratic. It's all over the place. And so is their body movement. Now, of course, I'm not privy to what they're thinking, but everything tells me they are not focused and they don't have clarity. So I know with my own experiments, people I work with, controlling the breath in a rhythmic state is one of the easiest wins we can help for mental clarity. Okay, so going on to emotional state, and this ties in very nicely. So how we breathe directly affects the nervous system, so through the vagal nerve, and those information pathways come up from our lower body, abdominal area, through the vagus nerve to the brain, and it tells us how we're doing. So if we're in a calm, rhythmic breath state, then our emotional state is likely to be following course. And our emotional state is going to be, let's call it a filter. It's like putting on eyewear. If it's a sunny day, you put on your red eyewear or your blue eyewear. Colors everything you see. Now, for people that I'm working with who've got a lot going on, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of busyness. And implicit in that, there's a lot of things to do. So there's a future orientation. So there's often anxiety. If you can manage your state and you can be utterly present, then you are going to have much more thinking capacity to work with what's going on. Now, a note on cognitive load. Now, cognitive load is a term which is really referring to the working memory. So if we think of the working memory as like this sort of small bandwidth, and information comes in, whether it's LinkedIn post, sales information, your client stuff, whatever it is that's your lifestyle and your business, that information is streaming into your system, into your brain, into your eyes, everything's all coming in. Now, some researchers saying that we can only hold four pieces of data, 4 chunks of data in the working memory at any one time. That's not a lot. Imagine you're on a call and you're looking at something on screen, some detail around you, and you're trying to think and process. You're already maxing out that capability of working memory. So just a caveat, working memory is a very small bandwidth where we're taking new information, we're processing. Fill that up with too much noise, distraction, an unbalanced mind and chaotic breathing, we're in trouble. Get it cleaner, get it clearer, clear away the distraction and the noise. We then have more capacity in the working memory. The good thing is, when it goes into the long-term memory, we create schemas. So they are like huge, complex maps of things. Think of driving a car, for instance. So if you drive a car, ride a bike, or do something virtually non-consciously, it's easy. You jump in, off you go. Now that's an example of a schema. It might be a belief pattern you have, it might be some knowledge around your work, your skill set. They're all schemas. They're coming up from the long-term memory and they're easy to access and they can be huge. But importantly, working memory has to filter it through. So in today's world of a lot of information, you are feeling that working memory. So be diligent and discerning on what you fill it with. So it's a really important point here, because this goes on to my third point I wanted to talk about, which was space. And I don't mean the stuff up there with lots of stars in it. I mean space in your day. Amount of people I've coached who've come from being overly worked, busy founders, to being simplified, streamlined, high-functioning founders, because we've done some things around stripping out back-to-back meetings, time blocking in a really elegant, efficient way, and putting space in between things. Now, I spoke about working memory. We need refresh. We need to empty. And I had a client. Now, this person was really interesting. He had a team with him, and he used to do these back-to-back meetings. And he was having problems, not only in his experience, but with his team and with their output. And what we found was he was what I call contaminating the following meeting with the previous one. So if there had been difficulties or a problem supplier, that frustration hadn't been processed. It was carried forth. And although he thought he was not bringing it forward, he did. And it was causing problems. As soon as we created spaces in between those meetings for this individual, he was able to process. He was able to deploy some simple breath work for like 60 to 120 seconds, like 2 minutes, manage his emotional state. So he was consciously going into his situations in a conscious state. And that just clears up that working memory. It allows your brain-body system to function at its finest and mental clarity to be really, really sharp. So there are 3 areas to work on. Breathwork, managing breath work, and understanding breathing rates, breath rates and brain waves got a correlation. Managing your emotional state, being deliberate and conscious. How are you? What do you need to do to be calm and clear? And thirdly, understanding that there is space required for very practical reasons of how the brain has this working memory function and overload. My final thought to add to the 3 there is watch your distractions. So here's the thing. If you're careful with what you eat, let's say you have some really nice food through the day and you have breakfast, lunch and dinner, would you just be grabbing food and stuffing it in your mouth, randomly, not even looking? Probably not. Most of us don't. But that's often what we do when we take on some digital content, more information that's coming in and really filling up our mind and our brain with so much data. It's got to be processed. So the space also means some boundaries. Boundaries around the stuff that is draining your working memory and taking up your brain power. So if you want more mental clarity, I invite you to deploy those 3 approaches: breathwork, emotional regulation, and space in the day in between things. And notice how that cleans things up. I suspect it will do well for you because it's done very well for me. And it's a daily practice, right? I have to remember every day to do it because stuff comes in. That's just life and business. But if every day you are intentional and you apply these things, mental clarity is always available when we clean up those appropriate pieces and get them aligned. So I hope and trust that is helpful for you. To let me know if you're able to find some more mental clarity with using those points. Okay, until the next time, take care. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe. And if a friend would benefit from hearing this, do send it on to them as well. If you would like to get in touch yourself, then you can go to my website, which is saljeffreys.com, spelled SALJEFFERIES. saljeffreys.com. Hit the Get in Touch link, and there you can send me a direct message. If you'd like to go one step further and learn whether coaching can help you overcome a challenge or a block in your life, then do reach out and I offer a call where we can discuss how this may be able to help you. Until the next time, take care.